Hello there, my name is Julien, and I'm here for Metal Wani, interviewing today with Niklas from Katatonia. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you guys are currently embarking on your first North American tour since 2017. How's it going so far? Anything memorable?
It's going well. It was a little bit of a rough patch, like in the start of the tour. We didn't get our tour bus early enough, so it became a little bit like rock in the beginning. But it's pretty much smoothed out as we are now. So it's just we're getting like a momentum and things are rolling on, which is great.
Glad it's gotten better after the rough start. What did you do without the tour bus initially?
It was a thing where we should have picked us up the day before the first show, but it ended up like coming to the venue at 10 or something during showtime, which was less than ideal. But then the driver needed to sleep, and that made us being late for the second gig. And then when you're late for the second gig, it's kind of like becomes this kind of snowball effect on the later gigs. So we just went with it, I guess, and try to just be on time, somewhat on time, and then make a good rock show, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. And back on track now, right?
Yeah, back on track.
Perfect. So I noticed on the schedule you guys had the day off yesterday. I mean, we already sort of spoke about this off camera, but when you have a day off, what do you tend to do? And did you check out Toronto or Montreal?
As the days off, we tend to just take it quite easy. If we're in the middle of like a town or a city, more like center, then we go out and try to explore. But otherwise, it's just trying to like enjoy like regular bed. You're just being on a regular mattress because, as I explained as well, my mattress is going like this and then it dips. So like your back is not the best after a while. So you just take it easy, try to do some laundry, which is great. That's one of the good things in life, right? And then just eat. Try to like pamper yourself with some good food, good dinner,
Speaking of time off, though, I read that you guys actually took a hiatus as a band in 2018. So I was just curious to hear what you did with your time off from the band and how did it help you get re-inspired to bring the band back?
What I did was to work a little bit extra, take the opportunity to just get some cash flow into my life, and then also focus on the other band I'm playing with, which is called Leak. It's a death metal band, which is like in the vein of Dismember, Entombed, those like old school metal bands. And trying to do stuff there as much as I could, because when both Leak and Katatonia is active and having like touring schedule and live schedule, it tends to clash sometimes. So I wanted to make as much as possible out of that.
Of course. So you were still playing music, which is nice to hear. And
oh yeah, definitely, always. Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. So with a band that's had a career as long as Katatonia has and as many albums as you have, when you're preparing for a tour like this and putting together your set list, how do you walk the line between putting together a set list that's going to make you guys happy and also going to appease fans who may have been, with the band for a long time? How do you curate your set list?
I think it's always trying to balance something that makes it that brings motivation to us, so we feel that the set list is fresh and that we can get that kind of diversity in the set, but also not just play our favorites, but also like with the ones we know that goes down like in a live set, and that's usually the ones that we like to play as well. So it's not that we really do any kind of like that we need to compensate for something, and taking things from our table. I think it's quite easy to curate the Katatonia setlist for live environment, even though some songs would be super nice to play, but they maybe wouldn't work, as a live thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess there are always a few that are too complicated or too much of a deep cut, maybe, for the people.
Yeah, exactly, which works well when you're sitting at home and putting a vinyl on, maybe having a glass of red wine or something. But in a live environment, you want to hear those with more energy, and the old classics,
Yeah. Speaking of your music, though, of course, I noticed that you guys have a new album coming out next year. Can you speak a bit to the songwriting process, the recording process for that? What were your inspirations when putting the album together, and what sets it apart from your previous work?
I think what sets it apart from our previous work is that it's very direct. It's very, very song-driven, rather than being creating this very long and adventurous, compositions. It's more kind of it's more like a compound of good live songs, which is quite unique for Katatonia album, that pretty much all songs on the upcoming album will work live. So I think there will be lots of those expected to be incorporated in years to come, to try to play as many of them as possible. And it was Jonas that wrote all the material for this one, and I think the inspiration is always there to write new music and trying to trump the earlier record, and trying to get better and just trying to navigate the soundscape that's already set for Katatonia and make something that's both fresh and also familiar in a way.
Yeah, good to strike that balance. With regards to the new material, are you playing any of it on this current tour?
Yeah, we're playing the single that's been out now for a while. It's called Atrium, so we play that every evening, and it's always fun and always interesting to see how people react to it. And it's gone down very well, and it seems like everybody has been picking it up and listen to it at home. So it feels like it's already one of the classics in a way, which is super cool.
That's awesome. Glad to hear it's going well. On a sort of related note, have you ever maybe started a tour with a song or two in the set that, as you've played them a few times, you've noticed that they aren't going over well? Has that ever happened? And if it has, do you swap them mid-tour, or do you have that ability?
Yeah, we have that ability because we have played almost all the songs in Katatonia's discography at some point, and we have the ability to pick it, take it in and swap something out mid-tour. We just use if we have maybe 10 minutes to spare on a sound check, we can rehearse it, and of course you can dry rehearse it in the backstage with your bass and your guitar, and then all that, and then you can try it out on sound checks, and then you lift it in. And that has happened where you're this is gonna go down so well, and I'm really, really trusting and believing this song, and then it's kind of like you're having a bird, the bird houses standing here, it's oh, what's this? And oh, are we doing this wrong? so yeah, we do have the opportunity and the resources to swap something out, so we're not entirely bolted into the set list that we're playing today.
Perfect. Yeah, it's. You guys do have the deep discography, but I know sometimes with some bands, their set list is a pretty refined production, and the ability to swap things out is a little more complicated. So,
yeah.
Not that I'm sure you will need to swap anything out. I'm sure it's going to be a great success tonight.
Hope so.
Yeah, so you've got a great tour package here tonight with support from The Ocean and Cellar Darling. So I'm always curious about asking bands, though, if they have a favorite band that they've toured with over the years, and if there's a band that they haven't yet toured with that they would love to tour with.
Yeah, I think it was super easy and very super easy and mellow to tour with Caspian a couple of years back, and I believe that was on the last time we were here, and it was super easy. They were such nice guys, and never any problem or any trouble. Just good vibes and good attitude, and yeah, actually we have Justin, who now plays drums with them. He's doing the light works for us, and he's a super talented drummer and super talented light designer and light technician. So he's very, very rhythmic. So that's cool to have him with us on this one as well. And yeah, and a band that I haven't toured with. Ooh, that's a harder question. I don't know. Maybe it would be cool to play with some band like Fink. I don't know. Have you heard that band?
Fink?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Super cool band, and it's kind of like this emotionally and mellow vibing driven band that would be super cool, and it's very much out of the metal genre kind of thing. So it would be like crossing the boundary into another kind of genre, which would be cool. And I think that's like on the top of my head. That would be
very cool.
A cool fit. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea of getting a band that's outside of what you do. It's always cool to go see a show and there's a bunch of variety instead of every band kind of sounding like a version of the band.
Yes,
you know.
Exactly.
So on that note, and talking about bands you like that may or may not be metal bands, what are you listening to these days, just in general? What is in heavy rotation and what's inspiring you?
I've been listening to First Aid Kit's new album. Can't remember on the top of my head what it's called, but I really enjoyed it. And listening to stuff like Coulter Wall, that's kind of like it's kind of like this country musician, or as I call it, horse jazz. And he's like very dark and moody kind of lyrics, and could also be a good fit for a tour, you know, which would be cool. Maybe more Tennessee dates or something like that. But yeah, it's that, and also a really talented singer called Nia, and that's kind of more like this pop vibe with a little bit like small rhythm and blues, maybe, if you like themes in there, you know. So yeah, I think those are the ones.
Cool. Yes.
And of course, always ABBA. You can't go a day without ABBA. No, I'm just joking.
I feel like every Swedish person has to plug them at least once. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like Kalles, the fish toothpaste that you put on bread, which everybody in the world hates, but we love. It's probably the least sold item at IKEA's worldwide. I guess.
But still in stock.
Yeah.
So, not on the note of what you're listening to, I guess I'm curious now, not about what you may be listening to now, but if you go back in time, what were you listening to that inspired you to first pick up a guitar or an instrument, whatever you may have started with, and why?
I think it's the classics. It's like Iron Maiden and Metallica, those kind of like cliche answers. But I actually started out as a saxophone player, playing alto saxophone in the beginning. And then I got into rock and metal music via a friend and also my sister. And that led me into kind of like wanting to refrain a little bit from the saxophone and get into playing metal guitar. And I did that for a while, but then I found that bass is my jam, you know, because I always thought that it's more fun to communicate with a like specific band member during the whole set and during the whole songs, which is the drummer, of course, instead of being someone who's layered on top that just does his or her thing, you know, during the songs and play a lead every here and there, which I do in Leak because I play guitar in Leak. But I really think the bass is the best instrument for me, you know, even though it's basic and it's viewed as the failed guitarist instrument, but yeah, that's the most fun thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm a drummer myself, so I'm not going to hate on the bass. Awesome. Definitely have a lot of friends who play the bass. So awesome. Well, thank you very much for chatting with me today, and looking forward to your show. And best of luck on the rest of your tour.
Thank you. See you next time.